I need to come back to Zoom. Okay, good. Pam, how are you? Can you guys hear me okay? Is everything okay? Are you guys able to come and join us over at Natasha? How are you? Lady Prem. You guys, you need to come and join us over at YouTube because I'm going to be switching off this Instagram live because I can't be doing both. How are you though? That's good. Good to have you. Good to have you guys on Zoom. I'm hoping we are comfortable. We have got about 6 people connected onto our Zoom. And I'm going to check that YouTube feed is going through okay as well, because it is just too many things. Hi, Soulful Rose. Good to have you. This is YouTube feed now. Good to have you. Yeah, so guys, share this link. Let me just look. Let's share the YouTube link over. Let me just share this with you. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Lady Prem. Hi. Oh, good to see you guys. I'm okay. Trust me, I've not left my gate for 5 weeks now. I've been so compliant. I'm one of the most compliant people. Right, okay, so let's, how do I share this though? You guys, can you see the YouTube link? Hi,
on your Instagram live?
No, on YouTube. Can you take the YouTube link? Somebody can bring it to the panel so it can be shared over it, over the other channels.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Gladys, how are you? Guys, can you tune in with us over on YouTube, because I wanna switch off this Instagram live, and so that I'll be focusing on one screen. I just realized that we can't live stream on Instagram and live stream on YouTube as well. The platform won't let us live stream on many channels. So come over at YouTube. Let me just put the YouTube link here. Oh, I don't know how to do this even on tablet. So somebody put the YouTube link. Glenn, can you put the YouTube link on my Instagram live for me? So yeah, so we are going to be having this conversation. So Instagram live is here. So if you guys can come over at YouTube, come to YouTube. That is the Instagram live, okay? So those are the guys over on our live, and I need you guys to be on there. Hi. Yeah, once you've done it, we can get started. So welcome, guys. We are going to have an amazing time. Let's be comfortable, because this is a natural conversation. We want to discuss issues that are affecting us as girls, as women, social impact. So we have got somebody, one of the young girls connecting all the way from Zimbabwe. So welcome, Nyasha. She's representing Girls Up Network. How is things over in Zimbabwe? Just a brief, tell us, how is it going over there?
So our lockdown is hectic. No one is moving around except for essentials. But now we can see that everyone, also even non-profit organizations, just started moving around to help vulnerable communities. So it's not so bad. It's so important for everyone.
Okay, cool. And we have got the Girls Up. Sorry, Girls Up is done. I'm done. And then we have got Zim Queens connecting as well. These ones are our young girls representing the diaspora markets. So can I have one of you start? I'm going to spotlight you. Come and tell us, how is it over there? Hi, Fari. Hi, Joe. Somebody sent a request for my video. How do I do that? Messi Machaura, what do you want me to do? Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, guys. We are the Zim Queens. So we are a dedicated group. We're all about advocating for young people and just advocating all things beautifully African. So during this whole COVID situation, a lot of young people are right now, they're out of school, out of college, out of universities, but education still has to go on. We still have to submit our assignments so we can graduate at the end of the year. So right now, me in particular, I have to submit my exam next week. And we have to do our exams from home. So it's quite challenging to revise for your exam and get your exam done at home with the family and being able to take care of the family. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. And okay, so we are gonna have another Zim Queen as well. Introduce yourself. Over to you. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chantal, by the way. I would say the same thing as my sister just said over there. It's been challenging. I work in the national probation sector, so working with offenders and victims. It's been very difficult because obviously as key workers, you're expected to go inside. So I'm putting myself at risk going out there. But I know that I have a duty to fulfill, making sure that I come home and help mum with the housework as well being a big sister, helping with the homework. It's been quite challenging, and it's been something that I've been trying to balance throughout this whole pandemic situation, really.
Okay, brilliant. So guys over at Instagram, can you guys come over to YouTube? Let's have this conversation on YouTube. We'd love to have you. We need your opinions. We need to understand what's going on. So today we are focusing on starting this conversation based on focusing on the girl child, the girl in an African setting where we have got a girl who is in Zimbabwe right now, and she's going to share with us the social challenges, the emotional challenges, and then we have got the girls who are represented by the Zim Queens. They are going to share with us their challenges in terms of being a diaspora and still being key workers and being expected to go out there and be working. And then we have got the Dream Blazers Academy represented by our own one and only Glenn. Come on, Glenn, tell us how is it over there where you are, what's going on and what's happening?
Hello, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, hi. Thank you all for joining. So I'm part of the Dream Blazers team, and I do all the admin work and all the running around behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over in Scotland right now, and I think over here we have very low cases so far of COVID. I'm in an island called Orkney, and we've had about 6 cases of COVID reported since the start of the pandemic. So at the moment, I mean, they've got their own challenges, but maybe I can share a bit later on.
Okay. Thanks, Glennis. Thanks for that. And then we've also got one gentleman on the line, though this is a girl conversation, but we have one guy joining us, Mr. Mwati, because you are on the live, because you're joining us, you're going to be talking to us about funding opportunities. Obviously, that's the work that Aims and Objectives does. Hi, guys. Can you come and join us over at YouTube, please? Because we want to be focusing on one camera. Over to you, Mr. Mwati.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Morgan Moati, and I'm representing Aims and Objectives.
Yeah.
And Aims and Objectives, I'm a funding consultant. So we're going to be sharing on opportunities on funding. How can we meet funding during this hard time? How can we? Where's the opportunities? Where can we get money to reduce the barriers we are meeting? So
or to reduce the problems that we are facing, right?
Yeah, the problems we are facing right now. So yeah, I'm going to be more on funding. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that, guys. So thank you for joining us and thank you for coming. So yeah, today, so what we want to do is really be honest and be candid with ourselves, so that we can hopefully come up at the end of this call with answers to some of the problems that some people are facing and how we can support them. Because the key when you are going through each challenge or each era, there is always a way forward. And sometimes having these conversations will help us figure out that way forward. So from the work that I do, I come from an entrepreneurship background. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mentor, I'm a STEM ambassador, and it's amazing that the timing is so right for us to be having these conversations, because we have been trying ever since for a long time to move the digital agenda forward by making sure that we capitalize or we take advantage of the opportunities that the digital space has been offering. And so I have been doing a lot of work with schools, with different organizations, helping them and supporting them to move the agenda forward for the use and the uptake of digital solutions to solve some of our social and economic problems. So I was very happy to be having this conversation with you guys, because during this COVID-19, I strongly believe that it's like the universe is repositioning itself, and this is the time that we have to embrace, whether we like it or not. We have to embrace technology and then choose to push agendas forward of solutions using what's available to us, and this is available all to us. But while we are doing this, there's a lot of challenges and a lot of gaps, and I think most of those gaps we are going to see them more as we discuss this conversation, where the gaps and the disparities are. And then hopefully at the end of the conversation, we can look at what opportunities are available to try and help and support and solve some of those problems. So to jump right in, I'm going to start by asking the question, social impact and social problems that have been caused, or maybe they were already there, but they have been increased by this 19 situation. And I want to give the opportunity to Nyasha to tell us what work they do right now on the ground and how their work has been impacted, and then what challenges the girls and the women that are in their network are currently suffering. So over to you, Nyasha.
Thank you, Fungai, for that intro. That was amazing. Okay, so as Girl Up Zimbabwe, we are a United Nations Foundation campaign that works with adolescent girls and young women, particularly from the ages of 18 to 25. So basically what we do, we offer leadership programs, we offer sexual reproduction health to girls in vulnerable communities. We've worked with girls in Mbare, we've worked with girls in Epworth. So now with this lockdown, we've suffered a huge, I think, downhill, and we've failed to continue with our programs to help girls who are in abusive situations, girls who are not going in schools, but they rely on going to community centers where they get help with their homework, with their studies. So now this has been a very huge impediment for our programs, and this lockdown has really has been a huge setback for girls, I think, across the country. So that's why we're having this live, to really look a way forward on how we can help these girls who have suffered during this lockdown now and even after the lockdown. Yes, over to you, Fungai.
In the line of work that you do, Nyasha, you guys have already been identifying challenges that are affecting the girls and the women, and you are saying that these were coming from abusive situations. Can you give us an example of a case that you have had happen during this COVID-19 and the challenges you face trying to help or support?
So mostly our challenge has been to help girls who have been in abusive situations. So what we've been trying to do with these girls was offer remedial courses, be it when they are studying, or offer just emotional support when they are in abusive situations. But now with the lockdown, you know how it is with girls in vulnerable areas. Most of them, they don't have homes. So we had to go to them. But now with this lockdown, we can't physically go around to these girls, and most of them had to resort to go to the rural areas because they feel it's more conducive than being in the township, because now they don't even have source of income, they don't have food, and so now we can't have access to the girls that we usually had access to. And now some girls, they used to escape from their parents in very abusive homes, but now the parents are home 24/7. How do you go to an abused child in the presence of their abuser? So now you see, now there's a very big obstacle here that we can't even cross.
Have I lost Nyasha, or it's my mic?
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay, so let me just continue.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, Fungai.
Go ahead.
And also another huge thing is we've had cases of rape, being abused, of girls being who have been raped. Were actually somebody calling to Girl Up Zimbabwe asking for help because she had been raped by somebody very close to her. But now she's all the way across the country and we are here in Harare. And now because of the lockdown, you have to go through an amount of paperwork for you to be allowed to go as far as wherever she is. So those are the barriers we have been facing in trying to help the vulnerable girls that we've been doing before the lockdown.
Right. Okay. So thank you for that contribution and for that. And I suppose we will come back and comment on some of it. We are just currently taking notes. Over to Zim Queens, I just want you guys to also tell us the kind of vulnerabilities or social impact, especially on the girl, and then specifically focusing on a girl who is a diaspora girl. Do you want to take over?
Yes, so I'll take over. We're part of the Zim Queens. My name is Tawana. I think one of the issues that we're starting to see, especially speaking from a key worker, some parents are going out to work, obviously on the front line. And we know right now in the UK, mainly the BME community are the ones who are being impacted the most. The death toll is increasing higher and higher and higher. And obviously, as these parents are dying, they're leaving children behind. So what's probably going to happen at the end of it, we're going to see a high rate of orphans from these communities. And that's going to affect us big time. And we know statistics say, children without parents, without family support, they're more likely to end up going into gangs, ending up engaging in risky behaviors. So there's a lack of support there. And we're worried about these children who are going to be left behind because, what support? They don't know how to plan funerals. And right now within lockdown, they can't even go to other people's families because they're being told, everyone's being told to stay within your own household. So yeah, it's preventing us from, carrying out our traditional burial processes. People, we meet up when somebody's died, we connect as families. People can't do that right now. Everyone's stuck grieving in their own homes by themselves. So it's loneliness. Yeah, loneliness. It's going to really affect mental health in that sense.
Okay, so people are having challenges that they can't grieve in the way known to them.
Yeah.
Number two, there is no, because grieving, when people come around you, according to us, it provides you that emotional support.
Exactly.
Emotional support is not there.
Yes. Right. So if they're all alone, loneliness, the anxiety of being alone, your parents are going out to work, you're not knowing what kind of health they're going to come back in, the paranoia. All we have is the news, and every day on the news, as you can see, is death rates are rising. That's all we see. Nothing positive at the moment.
Right. Okay. Thank you for your contribution. And I wanted to come to the other Zim Queen. She's one of our queens as well. If you tell us from a key worker's point of view, because you said you're a key worker.
Yes, I am.
You work with probation services.
Yes, exactly.
So what's the impact right now in your kind of work?
The impact for me is just not being able to have that chance to take time off work. I have to be at work. And when I come back home, I have to be a daughter. So I have to make sure that I'm helping my brothers at home, helping mom with cooking and stuff like that, which is, like I said before, it makes a huge impact on me as well. My mental state, the way I act, the way I move, the way I maybe be creative in the way I want to. As we said before, we run a social media platform. I've not had time to contribute to creativity amongst that situation. So it's very difficult for me.
Okay, and in terms of your work, being at work, what has been the challenge in executing your actual job?
The challenge has been working from home. A lot of the things that I do is I have to be out there with people. I have to speak to people face to face. So being at home, I can't know if an offender is okay at home by using the phone. People can, like I said before, it's very difficult to communicate over the phone, knowing someone's how they feel emotionally. You can't be there to see their facial expressions. You can't, there's a lot of things that you can miss out if you're working from home. So because of the job that I have to be out there on the front line, meeting with people and actually going into the community.
Wow, okay. Thank you for your contribution. And I suppose we have another person who is also working in the workspace of being a key worker. And Glenn, you want to give us your viewpoint as well on how this is going for you guys over where you are.
Yes, thank you, Fungai. So yeah, I'm a key worker. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm having to go into work as well. So the biggest worry, I think, is like Chantel said, having to go to work and then coming back home. If you're staying with another person, you're thinking maybe you might bring, something back. You might expose the other person. So, but then again, you're a key worker. You are expected to, you've got a duty of care. So you need to continue to get into work. So I think that's one of the issues that I've been facing. And also I think just wanting to have an income is another issue. I think that many of us key workers, especially in the BME communities, we're finding ourselves having to go to work because maybe as a key worker, there's probably not that option for you to be able to get that funding from the government. So maybe you can actually help us, Fungai, on that a little bit. Who is able to get funding? Can key workers like nurses take that 80% cutoff and stay at home?
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Thank you for that. So I suppose that there are a lot of factors, because right now we have looked at the social impact, and we can see that the impact is huge on the social aspect. Hearing from those who are in Zimbabwe who deal with people in abusive situations, and all I can do is I can only imagine, because people who are in abusive situations, their cases also are emotive issues. And these are issues that they cannot come to the public and talk about. And maybe the abusers are the providers. So if your abuser is your parent, or your abuser is your wife, or your abuser is your husband, but then you also depend on them, I think it's only more difficult now. How do you tell on them? So I think these are very difficult times socially for those who are in those situations. And I suppose the questions we need to be able to answer is, how do we answer to those calls if the world, because from where I sit, I genuinely don't think that we are going to go back to the normal that we think or we know as the normal. I genuinely think that, like I've said, the world is repositioning, and there is going to be a new normal where meeting face to face is not going to be something that we are going to be able to continue to practice for a while, until this whole situation, there is some kind of answers to it. But still, how do we help?
Okay, Fungai, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So I'm also streaming live on Instagram, and somebody just raised a very valid point, and I just wanted to put it across. You can just take a look at it. So we've got Cook Alliance, who is saying that we must give girls an education, a purpose to put themselves forward, and providing a strong support for them will also be a good way to ensure their success. So I'm also thinking now, because of this lockdown, I think we have like a strong support system for girls where they can just take care of their emotions, and even those who are going through abuse. We can also talk about education. How do we put digitalize our education to keep our girls busy so that they don't fall into traps of pregnancies, and also as a way of escapism from violence and even abuse.
Right. Okay. I think those are valid points. We are going to, Mr. Martin, Glenn, I think I'm noting those down, because those are real issues, and I suppose we need to look at having the answers. But I want us to come back again to the social setting of a girl child and maybe unpack, because the impact, I think, of COVID-19 on the girl child would definitely be very different socially, depending on the social status of these girls and women we are talking about. Right. Now, myself coming from an African setting background, growing up, a girl is, and I still practice that now, because obviously that became part of my DNA. A lot of people always ask me, Fungai, especially during this lockdown, do I do my cooking? Do I do my washing, my ironing? And trust me, for the last 5 weeks, I haven't had a cleaner who would be able to come and help me out with my duties. And so I was talking to my husband yesterday, and we were exploring, telling him that we are going to have this conversation. And for sure, I appreciate that I'm able to cook, I'm able to clean, I've got no pressure. You know, I can just take off my business hat wear my whatever, get on with my house. So my house has been clean because I just plan in such a way that it doesn't matter the size of the house, but the space is kept clean because I'm crazy about cleanliness. But I can do those duties because those skills I experienced and gained them when I was growing up as a girl child. Okay, so from where I sit, the girl child today is facing two challenges. And I think some of those challenges, we may interpret them as abuse, but again, this is open for discussion because coming back to growing up, a girl child is expected to wake up and clean the house, wake up at 6. Have you dusted the house? Have you cleaned? Have you cooked? Have you got breakfast ready for everyone? You know, for me, I came from a big family. And so it was natural that the girls, they wake up and they get on with it. But the girl child today, do they still practice these things? And I expected to practice these things. I don't know. This is open for discussion. And if they have to now be at home and still do all those activities and then be expected to make time for their studies,
Right.
Are they enabled to make time for their studies? But then if and during the time which they are expected to do these things, and if mom and dad don't see them doing these things, they are going to be so upset with them and they're going to tell them off. But that then classed as abuse? I don't know. But let's have the conversation because culture plays a very big role in terms of how we respond to matters. So I want to maybe throw it back to you guys as girls to say, in your shoes then, do you think the girl right now who is at home is facing these issues, and how are they being impacted? Are they being expected to be the first person to wake up, clean the house, and get the breakfast ready for everybody else, even though it's a school day? I don't know. So I want you guys to jump in and let's be real about how it is for you guys.
Okay, I'll kickstart it off. We were raised by Zimbabwean parents. So personally for us, we are expected to cook and clean before we begin anything. Even this morning, before we even did our live, we were expected to cook breakfast for everyone. We were expected to clean the house before we began the live. My mom said, you're not doing it until you clean the house. So yes, the duties don't stop. But I mean, a lot of friends that we go to uni with, they don't know how to cook. They don't know how to clean. Right now, they're in uni accommodations. They don't know how to cook dinners. They rely on takeaways, noodles, Chinese takeaways, stuff like that. And with the lockdown, deliveries are not happening. So I know a lot of them are struggling right now to cook meals and have a decent meal right now because they don't know how to cook. They're probably trying to learn right now because of the whole lockdown. So it is quite difficult for a lot of people. But us personally, we know how to cook because of our parents. They've instilled that in us. But you're absolutely right in the sense that I don't think our parents necessarily enable us to get on with the studies that you say we should be doing, because you're absolutely right. So like Tafara mentioned, assignments they still need to be handed in. They've changed the way, we're doing virtual learning now. Some of us have seminars and, like collaborating online with our lecturers, deadlines, exams, everything is online. And it is hard to sort of, manage that and do house cleaning and cook for the family and, make sure you're interacting with the family. You don't want to be upstairs in your room all day. You're already bored as it is. We're already isolated. I don't want to be in the room all day and studying during this lockdown. So you're right. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. I want somebody to jump in and comment then. So I want to pick on things that you guys mentioned. You guys are able to big up your parents. Big up to your parents. But I wanted to also, so maybe to another girl, let's look at a girl who's not been taught to do these things. Could it be this girl could be facing another kind of problem where during the lockdown now, they can't make their bed. They don't want to wake up. They don't want to do all these things and mom is on their neck. So could it be that they start feeling that they're being abused? I don't know. Let's just park it there, right? This is what that girl. And then another girl, probably in the same situation as you, doesn't have the opportunity to have their own bedroom. When I grew up, I don't know other people now, but for me, we lived 8 of us in a 2-roomed house, mom and dad, everybody in that space. Where do you make room to study here in this 2-roomed house? How do you make room to study? So that's a new problem because there is no actual space.
Right.
You may want to study, you may be organized, but do you have the space? The space?
all the resources. One of my colleagues was saying they have one computer in the house. Mom's working from home. You know, the little brother has also got school studies. She's also got assignments. So they're all sharing one computer and they have to divide it between all of them. So you're absolutely right. And the space, some people are living in flats, you know, so the noise, telling others to keep quiet. People want to watch TV. That's what they're doing all day. Just finding that space to concentrate within lockdown is really hard as well.
Oh, absolutely. And then I'm bringing it back to Nyasha. So Nyasha, we're exploring this, what the space issue, the culture issue, how is it for the girl on the ground?
So for me, I think they should be aligned between, you know, it's basic that if you grew up in Zimbabwe, you had to wake up early, you had to do your chores and you had to do them well, but we have to draw a line from learning a skill and being abused. So we see that most of the girls that we work with, it's no longer about learning a skill. These girls are being abused to a point where you spend the rest of the day from morning till evening. You're cooking, you're washing, you're taking care of your young siblings, and you don't even have time for yourself. So I think, you know, it also goes down to us teaching even our older generation, our parents, when enough is enough, because we can't just keep on saying, okay, I'm also psychological. That's what our parents do us. They tell us, it's compulsory for you to learn this skill because you're a girl. And when you grow up, your job is to wash, cook, and do stuff for your husband. But they don't also see that other side. With us girls, we're trying to be career oriented. We want to learn, we want to study. And I also want to us teaching our parents that they should be aligned between learning a skill at home and abuse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Okay. There is a mother who has commented on our YouTube saying that even some mothers are experiencing challenges during the lockdown with caregiving, maintaining homeschool, and some are even trying to study like myself. Work-life balance.
Right.
Work-life balance. So the conversation of a girl child, let's just take the girl child, because those things, like I've said to you, I am a grown woman with a grown home, with grown kids. But because I am married to my African man, I follow African culture. And so from where I sit, I just find it that it's my responsibility to look after my home. But I thank God that I am able to manage my time and structure my day in such a way that for me, no lockdown, with lockdown, for me, that doesn't make a difference because my life has always been shaped that way, that I have to balance the home and the work life. But my work allows me to work from anywhere. That's the difference. And so the only thing is that during the lockdown, the help that I get from outside is not able to come and help. The gardener, the cleaner, you know, all those people, the handyman, none of those people are able to come to the house. But there is no actual real disruption. But I think real disruption is there for this woman who is a student and she's a mother and she's all these things and she has to have that balance. So I think that you're right, Nyasha, that I think we have to have the conversations. Where do we draw the line? Because the responsibilities or the position of a girl child has changed from where we were years ago to where we are now. The girl child is also an income bringer. Yes. They have to go out to work, they have to study. So how about looking at our culture and saying, okay, guys, can we incorporate everybody in this conversation? Yes. Let's hear maybe from Morgan. What is your viewpoint from a men's viewpoint on this conversation?
Oh, thank you, Fungai. Very interesting. Yeah, but girls, I'm gonna be a bit, I'm going on the many side. From what I'm hearing, trying to balance it, I think if our culture, like the Zim Queens are saying, if it prepares us, also like Fungai said, if our culture prepares us for times like this, then our culture is good. Why? Because you are saying you're seeing the disadvantage of other girls now who are having to rely on takeouts and so forth. So that one I'm very I like it. Why? I want to put something in Zimbabweans or in Africans. sometimes our being disadvantaged, I think it causes you also to be advantaged in some ways. Because while we are disadvantaged, I think we are also learning to survive when it's, when situations like this, come into play. So yeah, I think also on the balance as well, let's talk about their privileges, because we are mentioning different kind of girls. There's that girl who's privileged. They have maybe, resources. Someone was talking about, sharing a computer. And then there's that one without. So there are those without, then those with.
Right.
Yeah. So these are different scenarios where we have those with and those. So some are privileged, some are not privileged.
Yes.
What I'm learning is those who are not privileged, I think they are prepared for certain times when it comes to marriage. Fungai now, naturally, she can clean, she can also do her work, which goes to one thing as well, which is something we talked about on Saturday, which is time management, which is very important, right?
Yes.
So time management, after all this, after we've said all this, the abuse from parents, then also I've heard the parents themselves, they're also students who are trying to work and do childcare as well. So guys, I think pointing a finger would be wrong. Why? Because it looks like we are all in it. And while we are all in it, I think it's coming down to Fungai, where she's saying, you know what? We should be happy that this culture prepares us for times like this. And also, we should now start knowing how to use your time. What is a day to you? Whether a girl or boy, or whether women or men. What is a day to you? How do you use your time, right? Then the other challenge I want to put across now, the one I want to put on balance, is that our challenge at the moment is to do with functionality. The moment we are trying to be equal, which is, there's nothing wrong with being equal. We are all equal. Let's put it that way. But as long as I'm trying to be what a woman was naturally born to do, and what a man was naturally born to do, then this, I think, this is where problems are starting to, to come into effect. Because naturally, I will put it this way, in our camp, we've understood that men is meant to provide, right? I'm not saying women don't go to work. No, we are not saying that. Then naturally, women are meant to produce. So women, they are good at producing. Men, they're good at providing. If we can keep this line and admit, then all these other problems, I think they'll be reduced. Other than if we try to be all the same, then it's going to cause a lot of problems.
Okay, thank you for that contribution. So I just wanted to expand on what Morgan has said, guys, to say the women are born to produce. It means that, women, we can multitask, we can do a lot of things. Our brain is wired very differently. Whereas the brain of the man is wired to be overally, he should be the provider. He should just go gather and bring. The women figures out what to do. But I think that's why we have these abuse problems, because that line is not been drawn. And for a long time now, we have got women here, again, to talk about young women and young girls. We have got young girls who have probably ended up in abusive relationships, not because they were in love, or not because they knew what they were looking for, but probably because they thought they had found a provider. They thought they had found a provider, because those are some of the girls we have with the girls up in Zimbabwe. They find themselves married because they wanted a provider who can provide them this good life that their parents are not giving them. Now they are in this situation, the provider is not necessarily the provider. They ended up being now abused. So they are now in that situation, but they cannot make a decision to leave simply because if they leave, then there's no provision. So then they stay. So we have got this kind of girl as well, who is in this current situation. So I think moving on to the emotional part, how do this girl then end up emotionally damaged and emotionally dysfunctional? And this emotional damage and this emotional dysfunction leads for her to abuse those around her. And those around her may include her loved ones, they may include her children. So from where I sit, how do we support this girl or this woman? Because it is the same person, whether girl, woman, but it is the same speech. How do we help them emotionally during this COVID-19? What options can we give that are available to support this kind of woman? So I want maybe someone to jump in who wants to comment on that.
I think for me anyway, personally, I feel like just having maybe like a social network where we can connect with them and make sure that they're okay, because obviously some people may be suffering in silence and they have no one to talk to, especially if we're talking about young girls ourselves. It could be like a cultural barrier where you can't actually open up with your mom and tell her your problems that you may have. So maybe having somewhere where these women can actually come and speak to other people who are available about their problems confidentially, and just get that emotional support that they need. Maybe just speaking to someone would help, I just think.
Right, okay. That's a good contribution. Thank you for that. Glenn, you want to jump in on that?
Okay.
What do you think? Or somebody wants to come in, Nyasha? Nyasha, come in.
I also wanted to mention the issues, because for me, we usually work with vulnerable girls, and usually when we talk about these social networks, it usually means maybe creating a group over the phone, especially now in times of the lockdown. And because everyone is always everywhere, you would need somewhere that is very central and neutral for everyone, and usually we use social media. And for me, we work with vulnerable girls, and they don't even own a phone that can allow them that type of opportunity. So I just wanted to ask everyone, in as much as we're bringing up solutions, we must also remember that there's a group that is privileged and another group that is underprivileged. How do we reach that woman who is in the deep rural areas, who is being abused? How do we offer psychological and emotional support for those kind of women? So as we are discussing, bringing up solutions, can we also keep those people in mind as well?
Thank you. That's a very good point. And I think, you know what, guys? Nyasha, you've raised up a very good and a very interesting point. And for me, if I'm honest, these people and it doesn't matter, both boys and girls, but my heart bleeds every day when I think about the young boys and the young girls who have got no access to digital. They have got no access to the internet, because I just genuinely feel that, I don't know, how are we going to bring them on board onto this ship? Barriers are plenty. And why it resonates with me is because I am probably one of those people. If God didn't just give me an opportunity or didn't pick me up, I don't know how it happened. But there is certainly those people who are completely offline. And I suppose our conversations are going to have to think about inclusion, how, and maybe we can start somewhere. We can't solve all the problems, but I think for Morgan, this is for you. How do we look at solutions that are going to reach out, even if we started with a small group, and enabling them? And I think our work would be to enable them, at least one leg, something, I don't know, because with the way the digital era is moving, it is moving at lightning speed. And I remember I was saying to someone yesterday, when I first came into UK, two things, and that's only 20 years ago, guys. I did not speak English. And number two, I did not know how to use a computer. Yeah. And that's basic. And we still have those people today. This is 20 years ago, but we still have got someone who they are probably, let me tell you actually something amazing. These people that we are talking about, some of them are probably already professionals. They have educated themselves, studied, and some of them are teachers. The person I was speaking to yesterday, they manage and run a school. And they were saying one of their biggest barriers is not the children, it's not the technology. It's how do they educate the teachers to be able to use the technology so that they can use it to teach. Yeah, because the teacher is like Fungai, who was educated 20 years ago, where there was no computer. I've got my qualification as a teacher. I can teach, but I don't know how to log onto a computer because I've never had a computer.
Right.
So again, the gap is huge. It's absolutely insane and amazing. So I think it's about looking at that problem, because even if we have solutions for the disadvantaged, we would have to look at a completely different strategy for a different group, simply because the tools that we may have, they might be clueless, even if we have a tool, how to use. And so for me, there are plenty of barriers, but of course we can start somewhere. Somebody else wanted to
somebody just raised up. Can I just read this question? It's not a question, but somebody was also giving a contribution. They say we can upskill the local teachers to become the counselors in the community. And I was also thinking, yes, for the women and girls in the rural areas, we can have a program where we educate even the wives of the sub-uncles and the chiefs, and even the teachers in local schools to have those networks amongst themselves in their own rural areas as well. In as much as we want to take technology to rural areas, as some areas don't have boosters, so you can't take a phone to those. So how do we solve? So we can go and even they can even take up that role on groups themselves to just connect each other and offer emotional and psychological help.
Right. Yeah, for true. So that's a good contribution. So thank you for that. And I wanted to just come to the YouTube questions. So let's just come so that we can keep our audience engaged. So somebody says, so what about our boys? Somebody says, how do we support the boys? So that's a question which we will need to come back to. Somebody says our culture is good, but why doesn't this culture support, what did you say? Why doesn't this culture prepare the boy child? So our culture is very geared, they said, in preparing the girl child, but what does the culture do to prepare the boy child? Second question we are going to have to come back to. Somebody says, how do we deal with cyberbullying? We'll come back to that. Somebody says, why most women don't open up fungi? It's because they end up being the talk of the town. So how do you make your platform secure for confidentiality so that confidentiality is maintained? I suppose that one is for what when Nyasha was saying, we could have online platforms, but how do we make those platforms secure? Because, for example, we have got a lot of vile people whom, when you've gone to them to open up, they will send you a WhatsApp screenshot onto newspapers. How do we protect those people then? How do we make these platforms secure? Somebody will record your voice and share that voice note with the whole world when you thought you were seeking support. So maybe we can start there. So how do we?
Well, we can create like an anonymous, anonymous virtual world where someone could like open up on this online app or whatever it is that you can create, and people can open up there and they don't have to reveal their identity to anybody or their names or anything like that. They can just put their problem there and then they can receive help that way. That way they're protecting themselves and who they are, and nobody has to know who they are.
That's a good contribution. Thank you for that. Somebody else want to comment on that? Pick up on any of the points?
Maybe having a professional workers dealing with people with in terms of the emotional side. So maybe having people sign contracts where people are aware of their rights, so that if someone decides to breach confidentiality, they can be penalized for that. So it maybe stops people from wanting to go ahead and blast people's information online.
Yeah, so definitely I think that it can be done because it is being done. And I think it's about making sure that we have robust systems in place. And I think that's where the Dream Blaze Academy, Mr. Mwatiri and Glennis come in, because they can work with the organizations or those people to help them secure the right funding so that they can build the right platforms with the right security, with the right documentation. And then if anybody breached that confidentiality, then they will be taken to task by the law. So
Yes.
I am a strong advocate of these things, but I just think that we should not just do them willy-nilly. We must have structured way of giving services so that you don't also open people up to further abuse.
Mhm.
So I think that's how we can answer that one. Somebody wants to answer the question, why doesn't our culture prepare the boy child? Is the girl child being abused because the boy child is protected? Or what is the difference? Why is it's about the girls and not the boys?
For me, I just want to answer. Okay, you can go ahead.
No, it's okay. I feel like
Okay.
as women we have more responsibilities. I feel like we've just been socialized to know that we have more responsibilities in the house than the guy does. So I feel we just have more pressure because of the amount of responsibilities that are placed on us from young.
Responsibilities from early. Go ahead, Nyasha.
I remember we're at Dominican and asking what the meat and they.
Sorry, Nyasha, I'm going to mute you up. I'm going to mute you. Sorry, Nyasha. I think your connection is having a challenge. I'm just going to hold you up and then we'll come back to you. Over to Zimpins so we can come back to Nyasha.
I think another issue that I was going to say is that our culture probably doesn't spend a lot of time, focusing on the boys, because I think in our culture, the most important thing has the boy got an education? Can the boy provide for his family? I think that's what people prioritize. They don't prioritize whether he can clean. I don't even think people even care whether, is he respectful? Does he respect women? As long as he can provide, I think that's what people prioritize. Can he be the man of the house when it really matters? That's what people are most focused on.
Yeah, but that doesn't that pose a challenge though for this boy child? Because now I think that the girl today is an empowered girl in terms of being able to be look after herself and being able to be financially independent.
Right.
So isn't that an issue that is now posing a challenge on the boy child? Because when
it is an issue, because like you say, the girls are changing, our mindsets are changing, and maybe essentially the guys, their mindset, they're still being taught the same. So what you're having girls that are thinking differently now, and the boys are still thinking the same. So now we got maybe conflict of interest. I don't know, but there's more conflict now in the household in that sense. Yes.
Right. So, Mr. Mwati, you want to comment then from the boys? Yeah. What work is being done to educate and to bring the boy child up to speed with the type of girl, from a cultural point of view, with the type of girl that he is now meeting? Okay. Because that, I think that maybe could be the contributing factor to then abuse that happens when these girls and the boys meet, and then the expectation is not the same. And so some of the issues end up with the boy being abusive to the girl, and they end up with dysfunctional relationships and everything else.
Yeah. I think the most important thing here is to go back to, there's something you said very interesting. You talked about structures, having a structure in place. So with family, the worst thing at the moment, especially in our African communities, the structure, how we've set up, the father and the role, the mother and the roles, and setting up as a family who does what. So the fathers naturally should be role models to their children, is it, to the boys. Then the mothers should be role models to the girls. But unfortunately, for our community, our culture, there is what we call the fathers, they are absent. So absent fathers. So this is causing that gap now where the boy child has got no role model. The father is absent. So there's no one to, so that's why you find most boys now, they are acting like women. Why? Because their role models are their mothers. So it's becoming a problem, really, especially our society, right? Then, so I want us to go back to when we're having these discussions. Let's go at the beginning. Let's not start acting, in the middle. So what's the beginning? Is the setup of a family. Let's look at how this family is set up. Let's look at how this organization, we were talking about going in the rural areas, setting up that, these people starting to do whatever they're saying. But we are saying that setup has to be, in a certain way that is real. I was talking to another lady talking about, these WhatsApp groups or social media groups. And I was saying, she was saying, look, when you were doing our social media here, she was saying there was something going on behind and no one was controlling that, there were people saying things, comments. So I said, so she's a teacher herself, yeah. So I say, how do you do yours, So she says, because we deal with children, there are resources. That's what she said to me. There are these resources you have to put in place so that when things like that happen, they are manageable. There has to be someone managing behind the scenes. You cannot just, let these conversations go without, anyone managing what's going in and what's going out. So I think, number one thing is, let's go back to the structure. What is this structure? Like we said, who does what? And whatever you do, start and finish there. Don't be a provider producer. Be a provider. Stop. Then the producers produce and stop. The moment we try to cross, we call it cross-contamination. You're trying to, cross to go into this one's duty. It becomes a problem. But so it's really a challenge, especially if there is a family where the father is absent. Then
so for the absent fathers, then that boy-child piece, though,
yes,
somebody has to pick up that piece, because we cannot continue to say it's a problem. But how do we need present fathers? And if there is no present fathers, what opportunities are there for men to pick up those and start networks for the boys? This is what we are saying. So that's the conversation that we have identified this as a problem, but as a community, have we taken this on board and started on a journey to cover those gaps? Because as long as we don't cover those gaps, the abusive situations that we have today, they'll carry on. And this man, this young girl who ends up in an abusive situation is going to have children. And these children today, they are observing this abuse. And so that continues until somebody cuts the umbilical cord. So I suppose for you, we are saying that make a note, because for this conversation, how are men going to step up and be part of the conversation so that we can have somebody stepping into that foot where there's absent fathers? But maybe we could have groups or organizations that have to look into that so that they can support this boy, because we will continue to have the same problems.
Yeah, so I was saying now the setup is very important. That's where I was going with setting up. So if we are setting up these organizations, we are setting up these groups where we are left out, actually, our community, is that we are not doing enough. We are starting to look for funding or look for setting up groups when the situation is already, in place. When Chimani money thing comes, then we start running about. When this COVID-19 is here, that's when we're starting now. We are busy now with Dreamblazers. Why? People are beginning to believe in funding. So what we want people to understand is get these structures, in place, but be organized, do it properly. Whether it's a family setup, whether it's a group setup, yes, set up the groups and have the right structure in place. Then let's say funding to put up this, to reduce these barriers we are meeting. So,
thank you for that. Somebody has commented to say they actually pay a mentor to be a father to their son because there are no community groups that are mentoring boys.
Wow.
So that's a good, so well done to that mom, because that's a good example to say, so we have a huge community gap. Yeah. And if there is a listener listening, or Mr. Moati, you guys, we need, because this cannot be women-led. This is going to be men-led with objectives to mentor the man. Because we have got a big problem. We will need another live just to discuss about the challenges being faced by the women because of the men who are not being mentored to be men. So
Mm.
thank you for that contribution. So now coming back to the emotional challenges. So we can see that the emotional challenges are huge and they are great. And then now let's move on to the economical impact. I think somebody mentioned that they can't even think of stopping to go to work because of the financial burden and the financial responsibilities they have. So what are the challenges that we are facing now? Some decisions we can't make because if I stop working, what happens to the rest of the clan? So what are the financial challenges? Somebody wants to come in on that.
Can you please say the question again?
The question is financial impact of COVID-19. Somebody commented that they are not able to even make a decision to stop going to work because they have got so many financial responsibilities. So what is the impact right now of COVID-19 financially on the individuals and on the families? Let's start looking at those in diaspora. From where I sit, it is sad to announce and to say that we have lost a lot of people in our community, and from the statistics, 3/4 of the people who have died of COVID-19 in the UK who are key workers, and we're looking at those who are working in the sector, 3/4 are ethnic minority. And so there are a lot of factors at play, and maybe we can look at some of those factors and then look at how those people can be supported.
Okay. I'll start from the Zoom Queens. I'll speak for ourselves here in our family. We've got a lot of family members back at home in Zimbabwe, and they're relying on us. You know, our family are the breadwinners. We send money back. So we don't have the luxury of saying nobody can go to work, we should all stay at home, because they're relying on us. Even worse now that they're on lockdown, so nobody's going to work from back at home in Zimbabwe. So they're all waiting for us to send food, you know, contact, you know, whoever we can to send food to them, bread, whatever it is. They're relying on us. So we don't have the luxury of just saying we can't go to work, we have to. And as you say, there's still bills to be paid. So all those things start piling up. We don't want the conscience of somebody, you know, hungry, they're starving, and that's on your conscience because you don't want to go to work. So yeah, there is that pressure as well that you feel like you have to go to work to support others. And then obviously you've got your bills, you still have to pay for your mortgage, you still have to pay for your debt. But that doesn't stop just because of COVID. I know they did say that they were supporting people, but you still have to pay your mortgage. So it's difficult in that sense.
Right, okay. Anybody else? Key workers, go ahead.
I would say,
go ahead.
Oh, I would just say it's the jobs that we have. The reason I feel like the numbers are up in the BME community is because of we are the people who are on the front line. Those are the jobs that we have chosen. Those are the jobs that we have decided are going to work for us. So the moment we decide we can't work on those jobs, what do we have? We can't go into businesses because we don't know how to receive the funding. We don't know what to do next. So it's like we are forced to go. Like Tafara was saying, we have bills to pay. Even if we have family in Zimbabwe, we have our own bills to pay. We've got food that we need to buy, other things at home. So we have no choice because of the jobs that we actually have acquired ourselves.
Right, okay. Thank you for your contribution. Over to you, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm just going to add on to say, so I think some of it is lack of information as well, knowing where to go, maybe to get that help or advice, or also I think not having enough financial, I think, sources of income, maybe like having, apart from being a key worker, maybe having something else, another source, maybe you could be doing something on the side that could also bring you, you know, some extra income. So maybe it's not knowing, just lack of information, not knowing, you know, where to go and get the help.
Yeah, I think that's also due to the fact that a lot of people who come from African countries, they come to the UK, a lot of diaspora people, they're not empowered to start their own businesses. A lot of them come and they go straight into healthcare, do social work, and they're in that front line. Most of them are key workers, cleaning jobs. A lot of the people born here, they're more empowered to go and do businesses, start their own things, or they probably have pension from their grandparents and they can get a jump ahead from the rest of us. So that's also a barrier that prevents people, diaspora people, from, you know, stepping up and having another source of income. Yeah, I think a lot of women in the BME community were drawn towards, you know, working in the salon, interacting with people, working in nail bars, catering, healthcare. So we've been affected the most with COVID because, you know, those are the jobs that you can't be interacting with. interacting with people.
Right. Okay. So yeah, those are interesting points, right? So I think it's I have been looking at, well, I have not been listening to the news. If I'm honest, I'm not listening to the news.
Okay.
But I am just getting my news from the authentic sources. So I listen to the announcements by Number 10 page, and then I also follow the RCN because I'm a key worker by profession. I'm a nurse, though I'm not practicing frontline, but I still interact very closely with key workers. And I think my own analysis, when I was looking at it, that the financial burden that we carry as people in the diaspora is huge. And you know, our conscience, I think it would be safe, or it would be good to mention that a lot of our families don't actually realize the sacrifices that we have to make here in diaspora to make sure that some of our family members have got food on the table. And it saddens my heart when I see, or you know, different news or different conversations when people are looking at, oh, people in diaspora, they are just, you know, now doing this and doing that. And actually for people on the ground not to appreciate how much diaspora is sustaining the people on the ground, it saddens my heart.
Yeah.
So I think the burden is huge on the people in the diaspora. But while I appreciate that, I have also got to a place where I think people in diaspora, it's about taking that moment and that 1 minute to think. And like one of our viewers has commented that COVID-19 is teaching people in diaspora to come back on the drawing board and re-look at your financial situation and your capacity. What can you do and what can you not do? Because at the end of the day, no matter how much we push to say, I am going to work the next shift so I can send or buy grocery people at home tomorrow. But I want us to start thinking about us. If you caught COVID today, then what? So I wouldn't want you to be your main driver for attending your work to be because you have a financial burden. Let that be the last on the list. But I suppose let the first one on the list possibly be, it's because you feel that you are part of the team and it's your job and you have to carry on to be part of the solutions. And then look at your financial situation. How can you step back and reorganize your finances? Because for most of us key workers in the diaspora, it's not that we are not having enough income, but how are we prioritizing that income so that it can start growing new income for us? So that when there is a crisis, that crisis doesn't necessarily depend on us going to the next shift, but that crisis can help us to step back and still be a key worker, but not to be under pressure because of the finances. So I think it has kind of helped us to kind of start looking at things that way. But I suppose it would be nice for those on the ground just to simply appreciate those who are continuously being frontline, because guys, if you are not in diaspora and you're watching, people in diaspora are putting their lives on the line for you so that you can have bread, so that they can send you those remittances back home. So I think that appreciation will go a long way for the person in the diaspora. And then Nyasha, you are back. Let me find you. Where are you? Sorry, my screen was not. Let me just change my panel view actually so that I can. Where are you? Okay, and then our screen. Hold on a sec, guys, because I have to find my chat. Nyasha, you are back, but I don't know how to find you because I changed my screen. Allow all participants. Hold on. Yeah, so I think it has helped us to realize that. And I think it's important that we are all in realization of what's happening. Let me just spotlight this, and then Nyasha, I'm gonna allow you to come in, and then promote the panelist. Yeah, you are here. Yeah, so are we all here now? and we can all skim the screen. Thank you, guys.
No, she's gone back. She's not.
She's gone back again. Okay,
Yes.
I'll wait for her to come back. So I really think that from a financial viewpoint, the burden is huge. And let me bring you back. Ask to start video. Yeah, there you are. And then I'm gonna spotlight. Yeah. So I think, yeah, the burden is huge financially. And then, so the financial impact, I wanted to come back on the comments. First of all, I want to comment on what Glenys said about where do we find information. So like I'm saying, I think it's important. I'm going to come back to the time management piece and throw it in here, Mr. Mwati said. Most of us, we do not take time to decide which news channels we must focus on and we must listen. You are only one person, and you cannot be having Facebook as your source of information. You cannot be having WhatsApp as a source of information. So depending on your location, my advice is that if you are in the UK, .gov website, .gov.uk, gov.uk, gov.uk website is giving us information for everyone in real time every single day. Mm-hmm. That is an authentic source of information. So if you are a key worker, the government has outlined very clear instructions on how key workers can still continue to benefit from the support that they have provided. That's number one. And then number two, they have made it very clear to say that if you are working, let's say, for example, you live or you support, or you live or you support a vulnerable person, there are people that they are saying that they can also be protected, and they don't need to go to work, but rather they can either be furloughed or they can be protected. So I need you guys to go back on the gov.uk website, look at your position and your situation, and then make sure that you are informed as to what support is available for you. And then for businesses as well, the government has laid out a very clear process. But guess what? We are guilty, ethnic minority, because we don't want to read. So we don't want to do paperwork. So I can give you an example. Yesterday, I explained to someone exactly what they need to do. But unfortunately, the government is not just going to give you money with no paperwork. There's nothing like that. They need you to give supporting information why you must be furloughed, why you must get a business loan. And then somebody says to me, for guy, no, the paperwork is too much. Can somebody do it for me? Who is going to do it? So there is information, there is support available, but you will have to do your part. So that's another example. Another example was that, good example, I gave them information that they can be furloughed, which means that they can apply to go on the government website, do the paperwork and submit, and then the government is going to give them 80% and to the cap of £2,500. But that's per month. Now, most of us diaspora key workers, we earn that in a week. So it's about making a decision. Do you just want to be given 2.5, which is 80%, or you continue to go to work? Again, coming to the answer of our social problems. We cannot afford to earn 2.5K a month because that's how much we are currently earning. It's not enough a week. So I think it's about going back on the drawing board, reanalyzing your financial situation. Where are you spending this money? And could it be that you need to slow down so that you can take care of you? Because this is just an opportunity for us to just come back on the drawing board and look at our house and clean it up and sort ourselves out. Because if we don't do that, it's either we are going to suffer the consequences. Yeah. Isn't it? So it's about us really doing what we need to do. And then financial support for individuals. We will publish, and we have published, there is financial support for individuals from different organizations and different charities. We will share the link on this slide at the end, but it's also, we've put it on the Dream Based Academy website so that you guys can, again, it needs you to apply for yourself. Nobody's going to do it, but there is financial support across the board. So I think from the UK government's viewpoint, as far as I'm concerned, they're doing their best. with what they have. Every government is struggling. For the guys that are not in the UK, because we have got our Nyasha in Zimbabwe, there is a lot of support again on the international funding viewpoint. So for Nyasha, there is available from Comic Relief is putting a lot of money out right now into the girl child and into the women in abuse. So you can, as long as you've got a structure, which Mr. Mwati mentioned, you can apply for funding. In the turnaround time for this funding is very quick. But I think there are issues you are going to have to address, and these ones are country-specific issues. Some countries are facing more challenges simply because the funders, while they want to fund, there is lack of accountability in those countries. And so the money, even though the money may be available, may be released, it's taking longer for it to then reach you guys because, again, of your specific issues in your specific space. Again, that is issues that you can always discuss. That's why the Dream Blades Academy are on the call, because they can help you guys navigate that terrain. But there is a lot of funding available to fund these activities we've discussed as solutions. Have I left anything commenting on what you guys said? Have I answered correctly? Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
So financially, I think that let's not put ourselves on a straight. I know we have got responsibilities, but may I please admonish that we think of our health and think of ourselves. If our main reason to continue to go to work is financial, then I really think that we need to come back on the drawing board. And if the reasons are bills, at the moment, whether you are an individual or you are a business, you have an opportunity to write to every creditor you have and request for a payment holiday. So if it's your mortgage, speak to your bank or whoever is your mortgage is your lender, and they are able to give you holiday 3 to 6 months. So you just need to write to them and let them know that you've been affected and your income has been affected, so you are not under pressure. And another way, I was speaking to someone who's working as a key worker, and they're working on the recovery unit, and they cannot do shifts back to back. And so my thought process was, how about maybe they look at doing 1 shift in, 1 shift out, 1 shift in, 1 shift out, so that they can look after their psychology and their mental health. And then for those who are key workers in healthcare, RCN has done a lot of work as well, and every country is doing a lot of work. There is mental health support lines available where you can just pick up the phone and speak to someone anonymously, so you can have your questions answered. But then bringing it closer to home, us as a community, for us as Dream Blazers, the work that we are doing, this is a good example doing this live and providing information, because there is opportunities for either individuals or groups or churches or whatever to form small groups that solve their problems. Bereavement is a good one that we have just discussed, that in our culture, people are struggling when they have lost their loved ones. How are they bereaving? So maybe somebody is listening right now, or you guys, just do a bereavement project to support, if it's specific to your country, specific ethnic minority people with their grieving process. And you can apply for funding and be funded to deliver that service right now during this time. There are just ways of doing things, but it has to be in a structured way. It cannot be random, but it can be done. So the government has put this COVID-19 response funding available, and it's available to all of us. So for us as a community, who is picking what? You can pick whatever and run with it. Those who are facing challenges, we've got young girls on the call. You guys can do a project straight away that solves the problem of young girls your age. Maybe you could run a digital platform where you can be supporting each other with culturally competent things that we've just discussed. Because these kind of problems, a local person can never experience them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where I come in, Mr. Mwati. You want to jump in on that?
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I think you are so correct about everything. And it's still going back to what we were saying about getting ourselves ready for such times. And how do we get ready? It's a matter of getting structured, because that's the key word, guys, structured. Because sometimes we are trying to access resources and access funding, and we are not structured. We want it the easy way. So the other thing, connecting Glenn and Fungai about information, there's a saying that, you know, you are an average of 5 people around you. So sometimes it's, who do you spend time with? It's very important. Let's start from there. It's in terms of information, because who told you about a mortgage? Was I was like that, you know, my early days. I think around 2002, I wanted to be the first one in our family to get a mortgage. So I did. And it wasn't what I thought it was, because I didn't need it. It was just the culture thing or the competition thing or the wrong information. So this is very important. Why are we where we are? That's the thing. Who told you you are naked? How did you get where you are now? So it's very important. It's about who we spend time with. Those people we spend time with, they determine our decisions. Why? Because we can be easily getting in competition around those people who are around us, and we're getting in competition on wrong information. That's the worst thing. So sometimes when you get in competition, you don't know that you're going the wrong direction. You just think, I have to win because you're in it. So yeah, really important. Information is about people around you. Then those who have discipline, like Fungai said, now you can access information through other platforms like, you know, the government .org, you know, the UK, is it government.org? You can access information through there. That's if also, like Fungai said, if you want to read, because if you don't want to read, information remains irrelevant to you because you don't want to read. Then I think it's a barrier as well. If you can't read, or if you are lazy to read, understanding it also becomes a barrier. So it's very important maybe to connect with, you know, mentors, to connect with, you know, organizations like Dream Blazers, connect with, you know, other people who can help you to get where you want to go to. So let's start from that platform. Who you spend time with, who is your mentor? You need mentors. Yeah, so you need help. So information, yeah, I think we sorted that one. Then once you get the right information, sometimes you get the right structure in place, especially with us now. The challenge is people, they want money, right? I think you all observe that when you are doing something, they want to do what's called a credit. Is it credit rating? Mm-hmm. But you find when you come to funding, someone just wants 100,000. From where? Where are you coming from? Yeah. You also have to, you know, to go ranks. You have to start somewhere small, then grow your funding rating, just like you do it. Right. So I think that's UK. Zimbabwe, maybe no access to funding. There is one thing I've noticed. There's a lot of things, a lot of projects I've noticed going around in Zimbabwe. I remember, when was it? I think 2006. One of the, sorry, which one, Fungai, the funder we talked about? One of the guys was a Zimbabwean. Yeah, Comic Relief.
Comic Relief, yeah.
Yeah, one of the one who was representing Africa. He was a Zimbabwean, imagine. He was in Zimbabwe. So we don't know why. We are not sharing information as well. You just see projects there, but no one is telling someone, you know, how they got that money. That's really an issue, especially with the African communities. We are not sharing information enough. This is the real problem. Then, like Fungai said, if the information as well is wrong, then we are put in the wrong positions. So information, guys, let's share information. If you've been able to know something, share that information, and also other people can take advantage of that. So yeah.
So Mr. Mwati, back to you then. So what I want us to be, we'll be wrapping up now on this live call. So call to action. Call to action is that we have got huge gaps.
Yes.
And I think that this COVID-19 response is calling us as a community for us to respond to the challenges that has been posed on the girl child and on the families. this conversation was mainly to speak about the girl child and the woman. And I suppose the girl child and the woman needs to be empowered so that they don't have to stay in abusive situations for whatever reason or the other. And for them to be able to access support when they need it. And then we say, as a response to COVID-19, the solutions that are available, I suppose, is to create a secure digital platform, which can be created for the girls and the women to access. Excuse me. And then the second work would be to look at how that platform can be reachable to the girl that is in the middle of nowhere. And we've discussed about the barriers that are there. So the emotional issue can be managed and helped as long as these young women and girls have got access to the internet. This platform can be digital because that way there is no limit then to who can access it. It can be any girl from across the world as long as they need the support. So that would be really good to empower the Girls Up. And the Girls Up, because they are already local in Zimbabwe offering this service, it will be good for them to be using and running with such a platform. So if you are saying there is funding available, something to look at, whether they can look at the international funders and they can be enabled or supported or facilitate. Dreamblazers Academy can facilitate for them to have something like this that is secure, because my only worry was you can't do this kind of work over WhatsApp or Facebook or any of these platforms because these people will be exposed. So it have to be a robust and a secure space. And then the second challenge, I suppose, that can be looked at as well is the education, how these young women and girls can continue with their education. And that would still need a digital platform solution, which I know there are a lot of platforms out there that are available. But the facilitation for those platforms to be available who are not in the UK. And I suppose for those in the UK, they have got access to plenty funding and plenty platforms. So that wouldn't be an issue for the girls. I think you guys are already running with a project, which I'm aware of anyway. So you'll be supported to get there. For the key workers, for people who are self-employed, people who are small businesses, I am telling you guys there is support available, but you have got to make sure you take the time to ingest and digest the information, and then make a decision which information will work for you and which information doesn't work for you. And for us as Dreamblazers Academy, that's the gap that we are feeling, because people like consuming gossip, but they don't like consuming real information that's going to transform their lives.
Yeah.
But that's just the nature, isn't it? That's why the world takes advantage, because you are what you consume, you are what you eat. So our job is to give information which will be available. We have got the COVID-19 response page, which will be available on the dreamblazeracademy.org. And all these things I've mentioned, they are all put there. And then the contact information for the support at dreamblazeracademy.org. The team is working not 24/7, but working every day, doing consultations and discussing with people. But I think there is an opportunity for us to be focusing on how we can be the solutions in moving this agenda forward and supporting, continuing with the support that we do. We should not stop because we can't gather in person. We really just need to transform and move ourselves to the spaces where we are able to do it and do it this way. Any more further comments? I suppose, Nyasha, we lost you for a moment. Did you have anything else to add or comments from your viewers?
Sorry, can I say to Nyasha as well, while she comments, can she start off, then she can comment? Can you tell us, Nyasha, what other opportunities are there in Zimbabwe in terms of funding? What's your research so far? Have you ever explored what funding is out there in Zimbabwe, please?
She's muted, I think.
Oh, unmute. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So now in Zimbabwe, I know most funding is coming from embassies from different countries. We also have corporates that fund. We've got Econet. It funds people, and usually when we seek for funding, we go to corporate companies, for instance, law firms. Yeah, and I think those are the only ones I've really explored, because honestly, they don't give much for the amount of projects that we want to do, and also the magnitude of what we want to do. You don't get much. So usually that's why we always our alternative is seeking for funding outside. And I think that's the way the money is coming from, the bulk of the money is coming from. So I can't say there's much funding in Zimbabwe. Yes, it is, but for the magnitude of the work that needs to be done for these programs in Zimbabwe, it's not enough.
But have you accessed that little?
No, we've never gotten any funding from Zimbabwe, from any organization at the moment. We only have one embassy, which we're trying to seek funding from. We've already submitted our proposal and everything, so we're just waiting for feedback if anything happens.
So what could you say is the challenge you are facing in terms of accessing funding? Let's talk about funding.
Okay, so I think basically sometimes it's not really from the funders' part, it's also from our part. We're failing to articulate our projects on proposal. Because I remember one time we also went to Fungai when I started talking to her, and we had this proposal that we had lined up, but after we went to her, we realized, you know what, this funding, this proposal that we had, it wasn't adequate to convince someone to fork out money and support your project. So I think usually sometimes it's not also the people who are donating money, it's not their problem. It's also a problem on our part. We don't know how to put up a real proposal that's going to also convince someone that this is worth investing their money in. And also another challenge is because people, they just don't want with their money, especially these corporates. They are also having financial challenges themselves, and they can't fork out money to organizations.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. It's good thing you've said that, you know, sometimes it's our problem as well. So yeah, I would say, guys, if you can, anyway, we're gonna start working together now, and let's start with the small. Those small. This is where we're missing it. That small funding will help us to get to that bigger funding we are looking at. Don't look at your work, how big your work is, but look at where do you start as well. Because why? I can't just give you 10,000 and I don't know you. So I need to give you 500 pounds so that I need to know how do you look after the little. Once you look after the little, then I can also try you with the bigger things you're looking for. So really, it's very important we start from somewhere. That's where I think we had said with Fungai, where do we start? So we have to start from the small, then we are trusted with the small so that we can get that bigger one. So like I'm saying, yeah, don't look at how big your problem is. It will never, you can never come and present me your big problem and you think you're going to convince me. No. How do I trust you with my money? That's where we start.
It makes sense.
Anyway,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Back to you, Fungai.
Yeah, so thank you so much, guys. So I like that you have articulated your story correctly, because a lot of people think that everybody must understand my project, and so they must just fork out money. But remember, every funder, when they are giving out funding, they have got certain outcomes that they are looking for. And I'm always saying this, and I'll say it again, that a lot of funders do not get money out to projects simply because some projects, they are not showing that they are going to give them the outcomes that they are looking for. So you may have identified a problem, but do you understand what the funder is looking for? Do you understand what solutions the funder wants you to have as outcomes? Because a funder, usually and most of the time, they have got their own outcomes and their own agendas that they need to achieve. And so the way the Dream Blaze Academy come in is that they help you structure your project so that its outcomes may be in alignment with the funder's vision. And if you can align your projects to the funder's vision, you are easily going to meet the outcomes. And where most people face problems is that when the funding comes as well, they divert. So for example, we can have a conversation to say, okay, you are supposed to meet the outcomes and help these girls, and we are expecting 100 girls to be impacted, and we will need to see what happened to them, what was the outcomes. As soon as the funding comes to you, you do something else. And so this is actually the biggest problem we have. It's not that the funding is not there, the funding is there, and most of the time the funding is going back unused, back into the pot, simply because the people are not understanding what they should be doing. So the key is, if you have a project, for example, we've identified lots of challenges on this conversation about COVID-19. You can be facilitated and you can be capacitated to achieve those goals. But the question is, are you ready? Are you ready to embark on the journey of chasing to pursue those outcomes? And it's not necessarily that you have to achieve every single outcome that you've said, but you must be able to demonstrate that even though I had aimed to achieve 5 outcomes, maybe I ended up achieving 1, and that's fine. But then show us what challenges you faced with the other 4. Could it be that when you first wrote your project, you overlooked some of the issues? We can come back on the tables. Dream Blaze Academy can support you then to kind of look at those challenges and maybe come up with a new project now that looks at why those 4 outcomes were not met. So the funders are not always looking for you to get 100% marks, but they are looking for you to be accountable. Accountability, accountability, accountability is the key word. And so,
okay,
so yeah.
Can I come in as well?
Yeah.
You know, you brought in something I think we need to say to people, we need to bring this out. The word outcome, that's the key word at the moment where Funga is talking about. But sometimes when you say outcome, it might be confusing, right? In most cases, can I tell you something? The funders, they know you need money. They know you need money. But with us, we think we should tell them that we need money. But what are outcomes? Outcomes are what comes out of an activity. It's not, they want to know what activity are you going to do. If playing basketball makes people reduce isolation, the outcome is reduced isolation. That's what you want. So when we reporting to funders, or when we're asking for money from funders, we are telling, that's why they're called outcomes funders. We are not going to tell them what we want to do and what we want, the money we want. They already know you want money, but what they don't know is what you want to do. What does it bring out? That's what's an outcome. What comes out of what you do? That's what's, it's very important understanding what an outcome is, because that's what they call themselves. They are focusing not on physical things. They are focusing on those things you don't see. Happiness, you can't see happiness. Confidence, you can't see more. You have to see it through a skill. So what they're looking for, guys, is outcomes. That's very important. So watch out for the keyword. What does an outcome, what does it mean to say outcome? Very important.
Exactly. And I was going to add as well to say that, guys, I want you to understand this from a viewpoint that money is not free. Yeah, I really need us to understand, because I am a businesswoman, I'm an investor, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm all these things. So we need to understand that money is not free. And so when a funder is giving you money, whether it's coming from the donors or it's coming from their pocket, the outcome that you are going to come up with is what they are paying for. And they are paying for you to solve a specific problem. Simply because by you solving that problem, maybe you have caused another gap to be closed, which was going to cost either that fund or the government or someone else or the universe. It was going to cost it much more money. So what they are saying is, with this COVID-19, here we are discussing the girls and the women. If we can come up with solutions with the work that we are already doing that are going to be relevant post-COVID-19, that means that we have reduced the problems for even our governments, where they were going to end up with girls and women with mental health problems, or girls and women with having too many children, or girls and women dying. So we have reduced a problem. And so they are more than happy to give you money and allocate you a budget for you to meet those outcomes. And so when you are doing the work, you must always remember I have to have an outcome. I have to have a result. And as long as you do that, there is more and more and more support available. But what we are not conceptualizing is that there's nobody who can give you money so you can go and buy a Lamborghini. It just doesn't work. But you can be supported for you to solve problems. And as you solve problems, it means that even if you needed to, let's say, for example, Nyasha needed to fly to another country because she's going to represent her Girls Up or whatever, that flight can be paid for because that is part of the work that you are doing. But the focus remains that we have got to reduce the problems of the girls and the women that has been caused by COVID-19. So, and again, this is very biblical, because when God created the earth, he says, go ye therefore and be what? Go ye therefore and be productive. And from where I sit, it was not the productivity of having kids. It's the productivity of being productive in the earth in helping solve the problems. And so the focus of our livelihood or of our work and everything that we do is always focusing on the next person. How can I reduce problems for the next person? And as I reduce problems for the next person, it is well with me also. But society and the world has made us to focus on me. And if I solve my problems, how does that help the next person? So it's about changing, re-engineering the way we think. So COVID-19, while it's got so many challenges, guys, because we have been enlightened to see this, and our ears have heard, we have been positioned, and our hearts have been stirred, we have got to take action and do one thing at a time. So I suppose for the young girls, Zim Queens, you have a responsibility, a huge one, play, because you've got access to this information.
Yes.
And Nyasha, you are the representative for the Girls Up in Zimbabwe. You will be in touch and contact the Dream Bliss Academy, Mr. Martin Glennis. Glennis as well is a female, it's a woman. So you can have those conversations and be candid to say, these are our challenges, Glennis. She will be able to support you and say, okay, I grew up in Zimbabwe myself. I totally understand. And this is what. She can give you that insight and help you structure your project in a way that it is meaningful for you to get the funding that we need. And I as a matter of fact, Mr. What you're going to add, because if you can be small groups together, it's actually easier to help you guys access that funding. And Dream Bliss Academy, we help you structure that, because it is the structure that is missing. And if we can get that right, you guys can get the support. But you have got to stick to the script. You cannot afford to be going everywhere and everywhere. So you have to decide to say, if our answer is the digital, solving emotional to start with, work with that emotional one till you see the outcomes. And then one layer at a time. And then that would be a good way to move forward, I think. Maybe Glenn, if you want to comment on that, we'll be wrapping up.
Yeah, I can just add on to what you said. Yeah, so it's probably finding one project and work on that, because otherwise, if you do too many things, then you lose your focus. So just focus on that one problem and make sure you work to achieve the outcomes, and that also helps you to get your next funding. That also helps to bless helps to raise your how fundable you become, so funders can be looking at your track records. Funders can be looking at what you've done before, and then you can build up from there. So it's very important to be transparent, and it's very important to focus on one thing.
Okay, thank you for that. Girls Up, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to also mention like the power of collaboration, because I feel that most of organizations here in Zimbabwe, they are missing the point. We all have one agenda. We're trying to push the agenda of girls being in safe places, being protected. But then you find that everyone wants to work alone. So I think the power of collaboration is important, because we have one goal for everyone, and we should just work together.
That's brilliant, actually. That's brilliant, because collaboration for us that's why we are bringing Dream Blaze Academy is the platform that bringing everyone together, because we have identified that as a community problem. Ownership, everybody wants to own, but actually it's not, the power is not in the ownership. The power is when you all just come together and become one big force. And if you are one big force, you can do exploits, isn't it? So our work is to try and give you, so when we are going to work with your organization, Dream Blaze Academy will identify 4 more organizations and then help you guys collaboratively come up with something amazing that is more impactful. So yeah, you're right. That is a good observation. Over to Zim Queens.
I think one thing that Morgan has drilled into us is you don't have to do everything on your own. So although the opportunities are there, some people don't want to come forward because they don't want to get help, or they don't want people to take away their ideas. They don't want to share information. So you don't have to do everything, all these ideas. There's people out there that can support us with Dream Blaze's support as well. You guys know where we can go. So that's what Morgan's taught us, especially, that we don't have to do everything on our own.
That's right. So that's right. So thank you for that, guys, that confirmation. So for us, ever since Dream Blaze Academy was started just more than 12 months ago, we have helped people raise more than nearly half a million now. And we are bringing those groups together. And it's about helping you guys achieve your outcomes. Because if you can achieve your outcomes, like we are saying, there is no limit to what you can do. And the support is there. You know, people are always crying, we don't have money, it's not about the money. And my message is always about that. It's never about the money. It is actually about the people. Are people available to do what they need to be doing? So it doesn't matter whether it's a business, it doesn't matter whether it's a project. Is your heart right? Is your attitude right? Are your intentions right? Because if somebody finds out at a later stage that you had wrong intentions and you never achieved the project, that's it, you blacklisted yourself. Nobody has blacklisted you, you know. So I think it's about, we are going to continue these conversations because, like we are saying, plenty of support available. And we are here, we see these opportunities every day. And our work is to really kind of bring you guys to speed and on board and say, okay, this is available, but there is no limit to what you can do. I wanted to lastly comment on what Nyasha said about the corporates. And I wanted to now wear my corporate hat and say, guys, you know what? While a corporate organization may be running its business and making a lot of money, but a corporate organization is a private business. And its main agenda is not to give people money. Its agenda is to make money. And once they have made that money, what they do with their money is their choice. We should not really feel that, oh, this organization is not giving, well, that's an individual business. It's my business, is making money. That's my money. I'm not a charity. So we need to separate those things. And my heart bleeds as well when people say, oh, he runs a successful business, so he must be giving back. Why should he? He's worked so damn hard to get where he is. That's not his responsibility. He's not the government. So I want us to understand there is a separation. Charities exist to help and support. That's why they are charities. They are public companies opened to make sure they raise and give to the public. Private limited companies are limited to the owners. It's their money. And nobody should have the right to tell somebody with a private limited company that they must give that money. That's their choice. And so because of that, we now become very violent, very angry towards people who've made their money because we think we have a right to that money. We don't. We don't. The money that we should have rights to is the government, because only the government answers to the public. So the work that we do is to try and help you understand that there is money available to all, loads of it, but that money is driven from the philanthropy space where people just want to donate and to give. And that money is driven from the public organizations. And there are plenty of them with the intentions of solving community problems. So we need to know where to look for money when we want to run our project. So if you are looking to run a private limited business and you are looking to get money, then the audience you need to look at is the investors, the venture capitalists, Those are people you must go to when you are looking to start your organization as a private limited company. But if you are a project, social project like we are discussing today, this is the right platform to ask for money, because we can point you in the right direction to the people and the organizations that have the money. So I think it's important for us to just really separate. I wanted to raise that because I've seen a lot of people bashing, oh, these organizations must be giving money. But what if they don't have it? They are also private organizations and they might not have the money, you know? So we just need to really learn to separate that. So thank you guys. Zim Queens, you wanted to comment on something you haven't commented on the last comments?
No, I think it's just taking in what you said about using social media and making sure that people know that social media is not where to get your information from, Facebook, WhatsApp, you know, just allowing people to know where exactly to go. So I think we can use our own platform to inform people as well when we're, I guess, planning up our own ideas and how we can help our own community.
Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for being on the call. So Dream Blazers Academy, they are on dreamblazersacademy.org. Zim Queens, they have got the Zim Queens YouTube link. If you can give us, guys, we will follow you, all of you on Zim Queens. Girls Up, I know they have got an Instagram page. Do you have a website or a link that you will be giving to us? And
no, we only have an Instagram and Facebook page at the moment.
Thank you for that. You will be having a website. Don't worry, Dream Blazers will help you sort that out. We need a website, which is your digital home, where we can find you. So thank you so much, guys, for connecting. It was absolutely amazing to have this conversation. It's been a useful Sunday. Hopefully next time, questions raised around the boys, around everybody else, we can have another live. If we can have men probably to represent the boys, I'm more than happy to be part of that panel, and we can stream here on YouTube. So have an amazing Sunday, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks for having me.